Welcome back. Here we are with Cindy Lora-Renard and talking about her amazing book, which is based on A Course of Miracles. So just before the break, you were talking about how we can forgive, learn to forgive, and how to be cautious a little bit. We don't have to go have lunch with the people that have done us harm. That's where we can stay away from them. But it frees, I think your term was, it frees up your own mind. That's
Yeah,
a powerful lesson to learn.
it sure is. I mean, until we really, really are able to release and forgive those we feel wronged us in some way, we're binding ourselves as chains, as prisoners in a way. And it's understandable. Sometimes forgiveness takes time. It's a process over time. It doesn't mean we might forgive all at once. Maybe it comes in a little bit of layers, step by step, over time. Sometimes it can take years to really fully let go of something. And, but when you understand this idea that as we think about others, we think about ourselves. As we do to another, we do to ourselves. Then the question becomes, well, do I want to hurt myself? Because if I'm holding on to grievances and judgments, it's like a way of hurting the self and not freeing the self from the burden of that. And everybody is equal, in the eyes of God, and nobody is beyond forgiveness. And if we kind of fall into that trap that we think, oh well, this person isn't worthy of my forgiveness, we don't understand there's a deep unconscious guilt in the mind that's binding us to those ideas and binding us and keeping us in this world of separation, which is what the ego loves. The ego part of the mind that's based on separation wants to keep us separated, wants to keep us in this because it says, well, then I get to be, right? I get to be the victim here, you know, and the innocent one, while the other one gets to be punished. And that's not true forgiveness. Forgiveness recognizes, look, nothing really happened because, again, I'm dreaming my own dream. Everybody is seeing through their own filter, but we're all dreaming dreams here. We're in a world of it. We're in a world of dreams, and we make up images, and we see what we want to see in people. So we have a choice. One of the key principles of A Course in Miracles is the power to choose. We have the power to decide how we choose to look at the world, how we choose to think about the world and the people, not only in our own personal lives, but people we maybe haven't met, anybody. We have a choice in how we choose to perceive them. And so this powerful idea that we're all one, if we choose to see people as innocent in reality, I know at this level things can happen and people get put in jail, and there's consequences here, and that's natural in a world. But the reality of it all is we're all still at home in God, all of us. Nothing happened. We're still there as perfect oneness and just dreaming that we're here and that we've separated, and that's the one problem that the Course says um, that needs to be corrected, this idea that we're separate. That would be the one problem, it says, because all our other problems come from that problem, this idea that we're
Well,
separate.
I like the way you framed it. It's kind of like a Course in Miracles is a course on self-discovery and the revelation that you can't go blaming everybody out there. It's got to be, faced in your own mind. And again, you started with the things held in your mind, and that you sort of like start at the top and go down, I guess, and you get better health and better relationships. But this spiritual sojourn that everybody's on, they are looking for love, peace, understanding. And so what you're saying here in a very eloquent way is that, hey, we have to work on ourselves first. And you have some keys on how they can do that.
Yeah, yeah. When we work on ourselves first, in other words, I'll say it this way, there'll never be peace in the world until the people of the world have inner peace, because the conflict always starts in the mind first. So until we heal that through forgiveness is a key tool. The Course says that forgiveness is the key to happiness. And if we can truly learn to forgive in this way, and it doesn't mean that we are, again, that we are saying it's okay what other people, if they've done something that we would consider terrible, we're not saying, oh, that's okay, continue to do that behavior. We're just saying, how can I look at this differently so I can be free? And when we can be free, that in turn gives the other person permission to choose the same. It's sort of because all minds are joined, and it sort
Well,
of shines, your forgiveness shines out through the sonship. We can't see that part, what's happening behind the scenes when we forgive. It's helping the whole sonship, all of us as one, to heal.
well, it's a good point. I mean, everybody's minding everybody else's business, and they're not minding their own business, so to speak, in life. So,
Yeah,
can you
yeah.
give us some examples? I mean, when you've came across this icon, the Course of Miracles book, you changed, right? You
Hmm.
found truths, and when that grabbed you, you were like having experiences like out of body experiences and
Yeah,
intuitions and things like that. Uh,
yeah.
I kind of look at the first step as dreams, and people have dreams that come true, and they're like, how did that happen? They have a premonition or something along those lines. So when people have that and they want to contact you for guidance or they want to take the course, I'm sure that you can help them or coach them in developing that, because those are the real things that happen, aren't they? When you start looking at spiritual books and information, it kind of goes ding, hey, we've got it. We're on the way. We're on the path. So when people are, on a self-discovery and they're neophytes and they say, what's this all about? What do you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, it takes practice, takes gentleness with the self, patience, and practice to really, really hone these skills, the mental skills it takes, the discipline, the mind discipline. Um, the mind needs to be trained. And this doesn't happen overnight. And I know a lot of people they've come to me and I know this from my own experience. I also wanted to kind of rush the process and go, oh, I just want to, right? I want to be at the top right now. I want to be where Jesus was at his level, or I want to be one of these masters. Uh, and I had to catch myself and stop. It took a bump in the head, literally, for me to step back and go, wait, don't
Yeah, I know
skip
what you mean.
steps.
You want to be an artistic painter, first thing you start off is with finger paint, right? You don't expect
Yeah.
to create a Picasso, but everybody has that. I think it's an enthusiasm for finally they have the truth. So you counsel them to say, like, hold on, slow down. And then
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
how do you keep their enthusiasm going?
Well, the benefits can help keep when they start to apply the ideas they're given. And we're talking specifically about A Course in Miracles, so I'm using that right now as an example. But if you're a course student, we call it, as we say, and you are practicing A Course in Miracles, you want to begin to practice really applying it in your everyday life, and then it will show you that it works over time. What happens is your mind starts to become more peaceful. Things that maybe used to push your buttons, you might find are not pushing your buttons anymore. Or you're holding grievances still, but it's much less of a time. Like maybe it's instead of a week, the grievance is a day. Instead of 5 months, maybe it's 1 month. Instead of 5 minutes, it could be just a few seconds, and you're back in your right, what we call the right part of the mind. You know, like there's two parts of the mind here. There's sort of what we call the right part of the mind as the Holy Spirit mind.
Really?
Yeah, and then the other part is the ego-based part of the self that believes in the separation. But once you start practicing these ideas, you start to see, but you need to practice, but you start to see that it can really work for you. And you can start to really, really experience benefits, great benefits from it, especially peace. And I'm
Well,
not saying it comes all at once, because we need to undo, kind of like peeling the layers of an onion, this unconscious guilt that that we all have in the mind to some degree, most of us will say, and I've not everyone, but um, once we really get in touch with that and learn to forgive ourselves for what we thought we did, and thought we did something terrible, which is deeply rooted that we thought we separated from God. Once we start to forgive that idea, and we do that through forgiving other people that we need to forgive in the world in general, then we start to be able to start letting go more of resistance, letting go of our grievances, judgments, blaming something outside of us for our lives instead of taking responsibility for how we're choosing to live our life and how we're choosing to think about people. It's our choice. So we have a choice in the matter. And that's power. That's real power to know you have a choice, that you're a mind and you can choose.
Can you give us a personal example? Because I know everybody's listening to you and they're going like, that sounds good. Yeah, I like that. But they're not going to make that connection until you say,
Yeah.
this is what happened to me. Could you give us an example or two of what, those moments when you go, aha, I got it. What happened to you to get you sort of convinced that this was the truth?
Yeah, I could go a couple different routes. I could go health route where I had to forget, it's still going on with tendonitis. I have tendonitis right now as we speak, so it's very sore. It can get very sore, and you can forgive a health issue just like you could a person. And the forgiveness process is the same. But maybe I'll start with how I my process of forgiveness with when at the beginning of when I started teaching the course. And I married my husband, Gary, who was already before me, before I met him, um, doing the course for quite a long time, became a pretty prominent teacher on already before I met him.
Well,
But
there's a story to
after
student or the teacher.
after I, yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's interesting how we met too, but that's a different story. But
No,
um,
I'm sure it is.
yeah. But as soon as after Gary and I got married, this is back in 2009, because I'm 20 years younger than him. There
No.
were there were several people, there were several people in we call it the course community. Okay? Not a lot of people, I'm just saying, but there are several people, just several people that were kind of looking at me funny, like, who is this girl? What is she, 20 years old or something? Which I was 35 at the time that I met Gary, but um, and almost like, what is she kind of, well, who is this person? What does she have? What does she know, right? Or what is she,
Fine here. Yeah, yeah.
right? And I got an email from someone who I never met before. I didn't know who this man was, but he just emailed me. All he said was, Cindy, you don't fool me. I know that I know who you are, and I know that you married Gary for his money.
Oh, of course. I don't know who you are. I don't know Gary, but I know what you did.
Exactly, right?
Your mind. Oh, what a bunch of baloney. But
And
anyway, how'd
yeah,
you
right.
do it?
It was really actually, and so I was already practicing the course for several years by this time. But so I had a little chuckle because
Yeah.
it's like, because what you just said, well, first of all, this person has no idea about me or my path, or doesn't even know me or know my thoughts, um, and my first reaction in my mind was, what money? It was almost just funny because we're not rich, anyway. Um, so I decided I asked the Holy Spirit, which is our go-to for guidance, on would it be loving to respond to the person, or would it be more loving to just let it go? My answer was respond, but keep it brief. You don't have to, um, and but my response, and a, an example of forgiveness. My response was, "Hello, so and so. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with me, but I won't be fooled by you. I know what you really are. Just like me, you're a son of God, and I just want you to know that nothing happened here. There's nothing happened.
Never heard from a
So
man.
everything is okay." And so I thank you for your email, and perhaps we'll meet one day. Click, that was it.
Never heard from him again.
I,
Right.
I did, but I did only once, but this time he emailed me back very briefly and just said, "Hi, Cindy. I see you have the kindness thing down." And then that was it. Just said bye or whatever. But he
Okay.
didn't appear to attack. I didn't say, he just said, I see you have the kindness thing down. That's all he said. But what I wanted to demonstrate, because I was already practicing forgiveness at the time, was that what he said to me had no effect on me.
You think that was
My
a little bit
choice,
of a
right? My choice to have if he has an effect on me or not.
Yeah, do you think that was a little bit of a test? I seem so the spirit sometimes sends you a little, you're touting something, you're teaching something, and so the universe says, okay, and here is a real event in your life. Let's see how you handle it. You think that was along the same way? Because obviously you've handled it very well.
Oh, I feel like it's not like spirit is going, we're going to give you, like in that sort of like in a time, we're going to give you a test to see how well you're practicing. I think it's more we're setting it up ourselves as souls. We give
Mhm.
ourselves our own, in a way, our own opportunities for forgiveness. The Holy Spirit is like the answer to the separation. The Holy Spirit is another way of looking at an event or a person, or another way of perceiving things. So, in other words, so what I did was I said, well, how would the Holy Spirit think? If I'm going into my Holy Spirit mind, my right mind, how would it respond to this? And I thought of true forgiveness. And I thought it would not see this sin in this person. It wouldn't, yeah, this person might not have been in their right mind at the time, but
No,
I
I
would
think
overlook their mistake, right? I would overlook. So that's what I did. I overlooked, as Jesus was practicing, he overlooked people's mistakes and saw only the Christ, the face of Christ. That's
well,
what I wanted to practice.
that's a good story because that happens. People are envious or jealous of other people, so they say, they throw a little dart out there.
Yeah.
None of
Yeah.
their business. As I
Yeah.
said, everybody minds everybody else's business, but they don't mind their own business.
That's right.
So,
And again, I know this is big stuff, meaning I know this is kind of forgiveness. It's not always easy to practice because it's
oh,
basically telling us, look, we're responsible for the world we see, how we think about the world. And I know it's hard because the ego part of our mind wants us to feel. This is the hard part to get sometimes. The ego is not based on love, it's based on fear and separation. So it doesn't want us, it wants us to remain a victim, not right. It wants us to, so we can retain our innocence while the other person remains guilty and stays guilty. But if we can rise above that mindset, transcend that, just like I think Einstein said, you can't correct, right, the mistakes at the same level at which they were created. You have to sort of rise above and think outside of the box sometimes and transcend,
hmm.
thinking that got us, into feeling this way in the first place.
Well, listen, hold that thought and hold up that book again. What's the title again?
Yeah, the book that I really talk really is about a lot about forgiveness is The Business of
Tilt it forward a bit. There we go.
Forgiveness.
There we
There.
go. The Business
Healing
of
yourself.
Forgiveness.
Yep.
There, by Cindy Lora-Renard. Okay, hold that thought. We'll be right back after a short break.